So a quick welcome from me before we get into body of the webinar. What we're doing today is think about how to support youth workers, support you in working with young people on controversial issues related to equity and sustainability. And I guess any day I could have looked at the news locally and globally and recognized a whole host of issues that we would regard as being controversial. So how do we actually deal with these when we're trying to support young people? There are plenty of resources that we'll share with you. We're going to be looking at techniques through this session and then share resources at the end of the session. And this is in the context of youth work outcomes. This is something that is a really important part of sustainability and learning for sustainability. And so just to connect you first of all with the context. So next slide, Kirsten. Please, just to outline what we're going to be doing this afternoon, a quick context introduction from Kirsten Leask, who is my colleague at Learning for Sustainability Scotland, and from Liz Green from YouthLink Scotland. And then we're really pleased to be welcoming this afternoon Charlotte Dwyer, who's the director of ScotDEC, one of the development education centres in Scotland, who's going to look at how to engage young people in these sorts of issues. And then we're going to move on to another interactive session about how to actually create safe and brave spaces where we can have these sorts of discussions. And Sarah Ronson-Galloway, who's the Senior Action on Prejudice Officer at YouthLink Scotland, is going to guide us through that very interactive session before at 5:10 we just gather together and look at tools and resources and finish definitely by 5:15. So let me hand you over then to my colleague Kirsten.
Thanks so much, Betsy. I hope you can hear me okay. So as Betsy says, we'd like to just take a couple of minutes just to do some scene setting. And I'd like to start with a little bit around learning for sustainability and what we actually mean by that. So learning for sustainability is essentially an approach to learning and life and an ethos that we weave across our practice. And in the screen in front of you, there's a definition from UNESCO back in 2019, where we're looking at this idea of learning for sustainability being something that empowers learners to take these informed decisions and responsible actions, not just for environmental sustainability, but this idea of economic viability, a just society, looking at social issues, cultural issues for the present and for the future. Now, obviously, this is something that is a lifelong learning approach, and it's about this idea of holistic and transformational education, which ultimately transforms society. And the graphic we've used there shows very much how this is about this, as I say, holistic approach to learning. This idea that it's not just about knowledge, it's about skills, it's about attributes, but also, ultimately it's also about values. So the head, the hands and the heart all coming together to enable, as we say, learners and educators alike to take action towards a more sustainable future. So that's the definition, if you like. And in Scotland, as many of you will already know, there is a national approach to learning for sustainability. At the moment, we have the Target 2030 Movement for People, Planet and Prosperity National Action Plan, which has two key outcomes. The first is that every learner receives their entitlement to learning for sustainability. Learning for sustainability was given that ethos, if you like, back in 2013. So it's quite a powerful word, entitlement, and this plan helps to look at ways in which we can realise that. The second aspiration is that it is about building this inspiring movement for change, so that every 3 to 18 place of education becomes a sustainable learning setting by 2030. And obviously, particularly with the young people that we engage with, both in formal education and non-formal education, this idea of entitlement weaves across those places of education, irrespective of where they are. And when we talk about the sustainable learning setting, we're looking about every aspect of the learning context. The shape that it's given through this action plan is that there are 4 sort of key areas that we can weave this across to enable this idea of a sustainable learning setting. The culture of the setting, the ethos in which people engage with each other, the relationships within the setting, the curriculum, looking at not just taught subjects, but also opportunities for personal achievement for young people. The campus, the built environment and the digital environment, the spaces in which we learn and how we use them, the way in which we use resources and source the resources that we need for that space. And ultimately this idea of community. So going beyond the setting, both in terms of the immediate community, the immediate geographical community, but also fostering this ethos of being part of a global community. And using community in its widest sense to bring in the idea of communities of practice and interest, as well as physicality. We've put a hyperlink to the plan at the top of this slide. We'll obviously share the slides with you once we've finished the session. So if you want to have a look at the plan, if you've not already seen it, please do. There are some wonderful things in there. So I'm going to hand over now to Liz, who's going to give you a little bit more insight into terms of what this means for a youth work context. So over to you, Liz.